There's a blue speaker card and a tan speaker card. And if it's a non-agenda item, please fill out one of these. And if it's an agenda item, fill out one of these blue ones. And they're by the table up in front. And you pass them up. If you get called, if your item gets called, come on up. And a little timer comes on. It's 3 minutes for either an agenda or a non-agenda item. There's a whole section for the non-agenda. And then the agenda items would be obviously during that, whatever that item was. If we get a whole bunch of cards, anything over 10, we kind of might par it down. I don't anticipate that tonight. We have a little tiering system, kind of do a little better time management on that. You know, reminder, these meetings are televised. Channel 28, the great Tri-Valley TV, Wednesday and Saturday evenings at 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 10 a.m., Friday and Saturday mornings at 0900. Moving into section 4, any changes? Mr. Van Schack, our superintendent, any changes to the agenda?
Mr. President, there are no changes this evening.
Perfect. So I know we've got two of our esteemed principals here from Altamont Creek and Christensen Middle School, so if we could do the recognitions.
Yeah, really excited that a couple of our principals are going to have the opportunity to recognize some of their great students, and we will begin this evening with Altamont Creek and their principal, Ms. Andrea Tapia.
And you're on.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Van Schack, Cabinet, and community. I am Andrea Tapia, proud principal of Altamont Creek Elementary School. It is with honor that I showcase our Altamont Creek Student Valet team members being recognized this evening. I'd like to introduce, and they're going to wave as I say their name, Alaya Frimpalm, Alexandra Essen, Sheil Akari, George Oskalkov, Elham Kalanderzada, Riley Walker, Lila Kaminsky, Valeria Laguna, and Anand Sikar. These 4th and 5th grade Wildcats devote their time before school to support our Student Valet program. Our Student Valet program at Altamont Creek is a leadership program that empowers students in grades 4 and 5 to help ease the flow of traffic in the morning and greet students as they enter campus. Each morning, as families come into our passenger loading zone, they are greeted with smiling members of our Student Valet team. Our Student Valet team were trained to wait for a car to stop, make eye contact with the driver, open the door, and assist fellow Wildcats as they gather their things and safely get out of the car. These students commit to arriving early to school at least one day a week at 8:10. After putting on their special yellow vests, they take their place at their designated spot along our passenger loading zone and stand at their station ready to open and shut the door of a car that has stopped to unload passengers. They take their job very seriously and understand the importance of their work. Each and every day, they exemplify the Wildcat way of being safe, respectful, responsible, and always awesome. Thank you, Alaya, George, Alexandra, Sheil, Elham, Riley, Lila, Anand, and Valeria for being positive examples to our younger Wildcats and supporting such an important program on campus. Oh, and George Watatse is here. You made it just in time.
Yeah, bring them around. Great job on the pledge. Thank you. Way to keep everyone safe. Good job. And this is a way better photo op. So if some of you wanted to take a picture, feel free to stand up and kind of walk up. The kids are going to face you from here. There you go.
Do we need to get your stool?
box out.
You're fine, Andrea.
Parents get it? There you go. Perfect. Feel free to share. Thanks, kids. Thanks, Altamont Creek. All right.
All right.
I see Mr. Sharman over there.
Mr. Sharman is on his way up. He is the fantastic principal over Christensen Middle School, and he too has some amazing folks he'd like to recognize this evening.
Yes.
Cool. Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Manshak, and Cabinet. I am Brian Sharman, and I'm the proud principal of Christensen Middle School. I'm privileged to be here tonight to acknowledge the outstanding achievements of our remarkable young people. The students that I present to you for recognition this evening consistently represent the Christensen core values, which are be respectful, be responsible, be safe, and be kind. They all exhibit leadership in unique ways alongside their humility, strong work ethic, and their invaluable contributions to our school community. Students, when I announce you, if you could wave your hand. Michael stands out as an exceptionally responsible and hardworking student, demonstrating a level of wisdom beyond his years. His dedication and maturity make him a standout member of our school community. Wyatt is dedicated to maintaining safety at CMS. He's incredibly passionate about ensuring our preparedness for emergencies and puts a strong focus on the success of our emergency drills. Tara is incredibly responsible and always ready to lend a hand. This is her second year as serving as our student representative on the school site council. We consider ourselves fortunate to have her as a valuable member of the CMS community. Layla, who couldn't be with us tonight, her kindness shines through in all of her interactions, making her a genuine pleasure to have on campus. Noah, the CMS ASB Vice President, is known for his boundless positivity and outgoing nature. He actively contributes to our school by assisting with morning announcements and playing a significant role in our leadership class. And last but not least, Amani is our ASB Student Body President. She embodies strong leadership qualities, consistently representing CMS with excellence. Her daily demonstrations of quiet but stoic leadership on our campus serve as a model to her peers, making her a respected figure within our school community. It is my honor to present these students to you for recognition, as they truly represent the best that Christensen Middle School has to offer and our community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice job. Good job on ASD. Good experience. All the way back, kids. Oh, you want to do one here? You want to do one here? Yeah. No, they're fine. They're fine. Yeah, a lot of their parents are right here, and it makes it easier. Then we take pictures. Come all the way back, kids. Come all the way back to here. That's perfect. Alrighty. Click, click. All right, there we go. Nice job, kids. I'm making them. I'm making boxes. Yeah. All right, while some of the families are filing out, thank you Altamont Creek and Christensen, bringing all the kids out, get home for that homework. And the next section is we hear from our student representatives at each of our comprehensive high schools. So we have Livermore High, Granada High School, This evening, we have a stand-in for Livermore High, Audrey Galt, and we're going to start this evening with Amanda Dunmeyer from Granada.
Good evening. Oh. Hello? Hello? We good? Okay. Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Van Schack, Cabinet and Community. My name is Amanda Dunmeyer, and I represent Granada High School. There we go. On the week of October 2nd through the 5th, all classes presented their skits. The freshmen took us on an outstanding tour of some of our city's finest cities. Oh, that's a type. Okay. We revised Rihanna's halftime performance during the Super Bowl with the sophomores. Juniors led us into the Barbie movie and into the Toy Story. And last but not least, the senior class took us into the stars with an impressive rocket ship takeoff and landing, leaving everyone starstruck. All of us had a good time at the Homecoming Carnival, followed by Granada's first ever drone show. The bright lights were incredible. Granada's varsity football team had a superb win over Dublin High on Friday, October 6th. The homecoming dance ended the homecoming week on Saturday, October 7th. Freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and of course seniors came together, and the event was mesmerized with bright lights, loud music, and colorful decorations that were carried over from the skits. Since this is my last year at Granada, I cherish the evening by seeing all the grades come together in their finest clothes and stellar dance moves. California Scholarship Federation at Granada will host a college and career panel for its club members with guest speakers Mr. Johnson and Miss Watson on October 23rd. Today, October 17th, we had the Coast Guard Academy and Grand Canyon University share a little bit about their college by passing out stickers and participating in engaging activities to win prizes. Our Mat Chat with Principal Conover resumes on October 11th at 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the GHS library, where students can come by and share school feedback with Mr. Conover. That's all for today, Matadors. Stay classy.
Thank you, Amanda. And now for Catherine Johnson and Livermore High, Audrey Galt.
Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Van Schack, Cabinet and Community. My name is Audrey Gold, and I am filling in for Catherine, representing Livermore High School. Because homecoming is this week, the excitement around campus is quickly increasing. Our homecoming skits and practices are in progress, and everyone is getting ready to perform on Thursday. The skit themes this year are music genres. The freshmen's theme is rock and roll, sophomores have pop, juniors have country, and seniors have hip hop and rap. Our homecoming spirit week is also in progress. Monday was Sunglasses Day. Today we asked people to wear camo. Tomorrow is Neon Day. Thursday is our homecoming music genres. And Friday is our Pink Out. We are all preparing for the Pink Out homecoming rally and football game this Friday against Dublin. Homecoming voting is also in progress for the court, and I look forward to seeing who wins this year. We will celebrate Red Ribbon Week by doing daily announcements centered around Be Kind to Your Mind on our Cowboy Alley News, and we'll also be decorating the campus with red ribbons. We also recently had a job fair, and it was fun to see all of the booths with my peers and explore the jobs available. I also enjoyed seeing the stickers being carried around from the different jobs, the in-and-out hats being worn, and the LARPD items being shown off. I encourage you all to wear orange on Unity Day, which is tomorrow, October 18th. Our next Principals Advisory Committee meeting will be held this Thursday, the 19th. At the meeting, we will be talking about combating hate speech. Lastly, October's PBIS theme is anti-bullying. The LHS Culture Keepers are busy celebrating lessons or creating lessons that are pushed out every Wednesday, which are centered around anti-bullying. Thanks for listening, and today is a great day to be a cowboy.
Thank you both, and thanks for taking it on tonight. All right, we're going to move into Section 7. This is our employee associations. We're fortunate enough to have all of our employee groups represented, and their representation comes to these meetings and gives us updates on what might be going on within their respective memberships. So first off on our list this evening, I'll call up LEA and their president, Amy Thompson. You were on.
And I'm upside down and backwards. Good evening, Board President Bueno, Superintendent Van Schack, members of the Board and Cabinet. I'm Amy Thompson, President of the Livermore Education Association, representing teachers, nurses, counselors, psychologists, speech pathologists, and teachers on special assignment. The month of October has been eventful. I was able to attend the Alameda County Teacher of the Year Awards, where LEA member Irene Lucero was recognized for excellence in teaching Spanish at East Avenue Middle School. This is the first time I know of that LEA leadership was invited to this event. It was a lovely evening, and I want to thank our district for the invitation. Eileen and I met with Teresa Fiskus to learn more about our district's budget. One thing we learned is that we strategically spent unrestricted funds to keep restricted funds in reserve. In preparation for our meeting, we did some analysis of compensation percentages of district revenue. We were surprised to find that as a group, LEA's percentage of revenue decreased while all other groups maintained the same percentage. We need to do some more investigation into that. The LEA District Joint Advisory Committee met to go over the contingency language agreed to last year. There's a little more information that we need to gather to determine if any contingencies have been met. We also need to continue to work together to identify efficiencies that have been realized and the dollar amounts saved. Today, there were meetings with instructional leadership teams at both comprehensive high schools, where district leadership presented the possible schedule should it be decided to change from trimesters to semesters for the 24-25 school year. Good conversations were had, and ILT members had the opportunity to express some concerns. Part of this discussion was the impact that the change may have on the calendar for the next school year. Members are looking forward to a decision by our district and the opportunity to have their ideas for tweaks to the schedule heard. And finally, don't forget to wear orange for Unity Day tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I believe this evening Stephanie Wagner with CSEA is here. Yep, on her way up.
Hello. Good evening, President Bueno, Superintendent Van Schack, board members, and cabinet. I'm Stephanie Wagner, California School Employee Association President of Chapter 334. We are currently in negotiations for our successor contract, which we have not been able to complete. Tonight, I want to discuss CSEA and insurance costs. Our members are all over the district. We're a large group that does a lot of everything. We're in classrooms, offices, and departments at the district office. The majority of my members are not full-time employees, which are not required to take medical insurance. When we talk about wage increase, we do not have the luxury to put some of it towards medical insurance because half of our members do not take insurance. But insurance rates continue to rise. It is difficult every year to see the increase to medical costs that our members are required to take. If we are required to take the insurance as full-time employees, we need more support from the district. We did get a small reprieve for members that already had medical insurance through other means. CSEA was given the opportunity to have 24 members opt out of medical insurance. Last year, we had 22 members opt out, and I have not gotten the numbers for this year yet. We know that the district saves approximately $3,000 per person for those who opt out, and this is how CSEA is proposing for the district to pay for the increase to our medical. Our ask was a little over $64,000, and the district is saving roughly $65,000. The last contribution from the district was in 2010. Do we need to look for a different company to give us our insurance? I don't know the answer to that question, but we do need the district to take a look at this and work with us to help out employees of the Livermore School District that are required to have insurance. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see Kirsty Governor with SEIU, but she's the representative for SEIU, and then our confidentials is Lily Lopez. We're going to move into communication from the public, which is 8.1. Communication from our public is the time for the public to comment either in writing or verbally on any item that is not on the agenda. Now, we, the board, may listen to the comments, and we may even ask staff clarifying questions following, but we can neither discuss nor take action on these comments that aren't on the agenda, and this is all in accordance with the Brown Act, which is law. So if you'd like to address a topic that is not on this evening's agenda, now would be the time to do so. And I've already gone over the thing that if there's over 10, but we have one card. So I'm going to call up Velia Mota. Okay. Longo. Hit the little button screen. Yep, you're on now.
Good evening. I have been working for the district since 2008, 15 years. And my hours have been cut to the point where I can't get insurance, or else I have to pay a lot of money. I barely make enough to be able to live in Livermore. I used to work at Livermore High School. That's where I started working, starting with insurance, 6.5 hours. I'm now down. I can't afford insurance. There is no way. A person, a custodian, makes more money than me. And I work with children, day in, day out. I work 4 days a week because my hours have been cut. I do not work Wednesdays because there's no funds, there's no need. Every year, it's a different reason. I can barely survive in Livermore. I don't even make $2,500 in Livermore. And you guys are telling us that you guys are saving, or you guys don't have no money for insurance and all this stuff. When I go on Transparency, it's a website where I can see how much it states that I make with insurance. It says that I make over $65,000. I make less than $2,500 a month. There is no way, never am I going to be near that $65,000 a year. I need you guys to think about that. All of my coworkers that were doing my job have now gone to jobs that are 8 hours because they offer insurance, office jobs. Or they retired and moved because they cannot afford to live here. I make less than $2,500. I need you guys to hear that. In Livermore, making less than $2,500. And we're fighting over insurance. I don't have a full-time job because it was taken from me. My hours were cut. Nobody asked me if I can do my job with less hours. Nobody asked me if I'm okay without insurance. Nobody. But yet, we are trying to survive. There's no way we're going to be able to do that on 2,000 or less than 2,500.
30 seconds.
Okay? So when you guys think about budgets and money and all of this stuff, I really need you to get down to the real numbers, not the numbers that are pretend. $65,000 to me is a number that is pretend because I make less than $35,000 a year. And you would ask anybody when I do conferences, oh, you make the big money. No, I don't.
That's
They
your
would
time.
laugh at me if they knew how much money I make. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that is our last card. We're going to go ahead and close the public comment, and we're going to move into Section 9, our information discussion items. And Mr. Van Schack, if you could introduce 9-1, Altamont Creek, please.
Do we have communications from public written?
Oh,
That's a great question. We do not.
Thank you, Ms. Priso. So I'd like to invite Ms. Andrea Tapia back to the front. She is going to provide to the board and the community a
Chamber section.
quick report on what's going on at Altamont Creek Elementary School.
As soon as I clicked it, I figured that out. Okay, good evening, everyone, again. I am super excited to share with you the amazing Altamont Creek and all that is happening on the other side of town. Okay. So, we have a lot to celebrate as our Wildcats. We've most recently had our Green Strides tour, which I know kind of looking around the room, all of you were able to attend, which was incredible. I want to give, it was an event that took a lot of people to make it as successful as it was. And so some shout outs to not only our Altamont staff, but a lot of our district office staff was there and was helpful along the way. Mrs. Mankey over there was incredible. And our community engagement. And it was so lovely to have so many community partners come out and support us and really show off all of the work that our site and our district are doing. And then another exciting celebration for us is that we moved to the gold level within our PBIS implementation. That was something we worked on for a few years. And this year we're going for platinum. And it sounds like it could happen. I didn't even know that was a thing, but I'm super excited. And so looking at this year's demographics, overall right now we have 634 students, but it feels like we have more coming almost every day. We have increased our overall population this year. In terms of our student backgrounds, it's been fairly similar with our Asian and white population sort of being the highest numbers. Our Asian population does continue to increase every year. This year, what was interesting is our English language learner percentage overall went down, which I think there's a few different factors. And then our students with disabilities went up, but we also have more SPED programs on our campus. We have 2 mild mod programs, 2 levels of the therapeutic neurodiverse program, and a learning center model. So looking at our student success data, we have a lot to be proud of. Overall, our CASP, ELA CASP area is the one area where we did have a little bit of a dip. We are still waiting right now. They just have the overall percentage. They haven't released, the state hasn't released the claim data yet for us to really dive into specifically where we can improve. And so we are waiting for that. That's not to say that we are using other data when building our universal access groups until we have that data released from the state. In terms of our math scores, every year we continue, it's been about 2% every year since I've been here, so slow but steady growth. I know as a site we're committed to using the Dreambox Launchpad to help us gather some information, and we also use IXL to really get that baseline data of where students are and where we can further support them. And looking at our attendance rate, it's consistent. It's definitely an area that I want to further support this year. I know each week I've been meeting with our CWA, our Child Welfare and Attendance person, Mr. Flores, and we are looking at different ways of building in school-wide incentives while also really reaching out to our families to see what barriers might there be in getting a student, particularly on time. Tardies is an area of focus for us. And then looking at our panorama data, we had a nice little bump of 5% from last year. I know in continuing that for this year, one of our goals is really empowering the student voice on campus. I know that's something that happens a lot in the upper grades, middle school and high school, but we have a lot of students who have a lot of things to say. And so at the beginning of the year, I went around to all of our 3rd through 5th grade classes and told them my goals for the year, and we set goals as a class, and we're following up throughout the year. Every trimester, I'll be meeting again with our 3rd through 5th graders, and with our student valet, and our peacekeepers and our student council and we're just trying to find multiple ways that our students can have voice. We're asking questions like, what do you think the teacher should be for Halloween this year? Just different ways to get their thoughts out and then help with our decision-making processes. Okay, so moving ahead to our student readiness data, looking at our EL student progression, we did increase this year by 3%. I know our targeted EL small groups, our grade level teams, do a really great job of by grade level looking at all of their students and then building small groups based on that, so they may be sharing students if that student has a like need. And we're super excited with our new Lexia program this year. I know teachers almost every day have been giving me positive feedback about what they're seeing and how they already are seeing improvements with their students. Our referrals, the negative is actually good in this scenario. We went down in terms of the number of students with 2 or more major referrals. That was a big area that we focused on last year. And I know within our PBIS team, we would do these things called drill downs where you could find out specifically what location, at what time of day, and what grade are the referrals occurring, and what can we do to support that. So for example, last year we established the peace process, which really is kind of an I message statement, getting students to talk about their problem rather than moving to some physical alternatives. And then with our easy CBM data, this is where we saw our biggest growth with our first and third graders. Our third graders increased by 10%. We have 90% of our students are reading at or just about at grade level, which is incredible. And so we are really trying to continue, I think, the work of our PLCs and our teachers having that time to sit together, look at data as a team, develop lessons and small groups, and having those cycles of intervention have really helped. Similarly, looking at our first graders, a 26% jump. I mean, that's huge. And so our teams have a lot to be proud of. We've had some celebrations, but that doesn't mean we're done, right? Of course, there's always more work to be done. So, and speaking with that, this year's projects are continuing to focus on our professional learning communities. Our teams are meeting multiple times throughout the year, having that dedicated time along with the Wednesdays that they have after school. We have looked at each cycle and developed a common timeline so that all of our, and working with my ILT team, so that if I walk into any room at any time, our teams are all working on the same goals, and then utilizing their small groups during our universal access time, using all the different programs. I know on November 1st, we're going to further dive into some more programs, which I'm excited. And then, like I had shared before, just that student voice, finding ways to listen to students. My hope every Wednesday, we have a Wednesday assembly, how we start our day. I'm hoping very soon the kids are leading it, right? They don't need to hear me. They hear me all the time. Let's have the students lead it. They already do the pledge, as you can tell. They did a great job, right? And so we are going to get them to hopefully lead the whole thing. So that is me. Thank you. Right? I think that's my last slide.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have no comment cards, so we'll close public comment, and we'll start off with Trustee Guzman.
Thank you for that. And it was also really great to see when I attended the Green Strides. So I heard a question that the English learners went down this year.
No, the percentage of students who, here I can like go
Who are
back.
English, on the very first
the
page.
overall population of
Yes,
students.
So, yeah, my question, I'm curious, is that because they got reclassified? Or
Partly. And I think just with some students moving, we had a bigger, we didn't have too much movement, so it's hard to truly understand, but we did have significant number of students reclassify, so I think that helped. And then a few did happen to move, and looking at who moved this last year.
Okay. Yeah, that was my question. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Wong.
Hi, I just have very brief congratulations on those reading score improvements. That is amazing, really incredible. I know a lot of hard work went into that. And then also want to thank your school for continuing to be leaders in the green movement, green ribbon, green strides. And that was a fantastic green strides tour you took us on. I know a ton of work went into that. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Pruso.
I do have one question. What does it take to get to the gold level for PBIS?
Or the platinum or the gold?
Yeah, whatever.
So the.
I just want to know.
Yeah, sure. So Gold is really working on the Tier 2 interventions. And particularly for us, it was with our behavior processes and our check-in and check-out systems. And so to go platinum, it's our Tier 3 interventions. And so having the therapeutic neurodiverse program on our campus and the level of support that some of the students in that program need and that other students are able to access on our campus is, I'm hoping, how we may move toward the platinum level.
Oh, that's great. I just mainly had similar things to say, which is that the Green Strides thing was great. The students were amazing. I finally learned how to sort my trash. So I was really grateful for that. And also I think everyone kind of highlighted some great things. One of the things I noticed was your panorama survey, and you've had an increase of students that are reporting positive connections. I think that's great. I think obviously right now that's really important. And then also just to highlight your easy CBM, that's really great. I mean, we're all excited to see that across the district, but to see such a huge jump, and then just seeing like your third graders are at 90%, that's really incredible. So I would say keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Drone.
I just wanted to congratulate you on the efforts to empower student voice in campus. I think that it's not a phrase, but schools are laboratories of democracy, and I think that the more we can try to empower students to not just be docile robots that do what we say, but to be empowered people that have ideas and can affect change. And I think it's wonderful when you get to, communicate with them and they see changes and they see that enact on campus. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the invite to the green strides, and it wasn't just a normal elementary school thing. I mean, there was a lot of people that I think it was quite understated, respectfully understated. So you can tell that there's some quite significant effort going in, and that kind of brings in long-term support. So well done on that. Also on your the connection with the kids and the adults, the panorama piece, nice increases on that. And not just driven by the data things, that kind of drives me crazy sometimes because they're real kids at the end of it. And when kids' reading scores goes up, that's real. I know we have to have data to see it, but when you see kids reading it, 91% proficiency in third grade, that's an achievement that people should be really proud of. So what you're doing is working. So really nice job over there. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'd like to move ahead and re-invite Mr. Brian Sharman, our Christensen Middle School principal, to the front, where he too has a report for his school and has some exciting things to share with us about what's going on this year.
Good evening again, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Van Schack, and Cabinet. I am again Brian Sharman, the proud principal of Christensen Middle School. I'm here with you this evening to celebrate some of our accomplishments and areas of strength, and also to discuss some of our next steps in supporting our areas for growth. The 2022-2023 school year proved to be both remarkably busy and successful, as you might imagine on a middle school campus, particularly following a year in which we received significant recognition of being named a national school to watch. The question then becomes, what next, and what do we continue to improve upon? And the Christensen team really took that to heart. Christensen Middle School is a relatively diverse school of 620 students, and we serve the Springtown neighborhood and many students who come to us via transfer from elsewhere in our city. As you can see in our demographic data, there has not been any significant change over the last several years. The one change that's not represented in front of you is the percentage of students who come to us from elsewhere in town. Our two primary elementary feeders, Ms. Tapia's Altamont Creek and Croce, the percentage of CMS students represented by those schools has tended to decline over the last couple of school years, and we've seen an increase in enrollment from the rest of town. We're always excited to have new and unique opinions and perspectives that come to us from a variety of demographic representations, including different elementary school feeders. The transition to middle school is challenging, as you might imagine, and so having friends to make and kids coming from all over town has really been helpful in helping our population continue to learn and grow together. We have made significant progress, mostly in the area of math over the last school year. You can see a 6% increase in the proficiency. Clearly at 48% proficient, we still have some work to do, but we are proud of that 6% jump. A lot of work went into making that happen. Over the last school year, we were able to pilot a math targeted support class where we can take our students who are at promise, who really need some additional support in math, and provide them support that they need to be successful, both in their current math class, but also in remediating the needs that they have that they may have missed out on somewhere along the line, with the ultimate goal of making sure that they're prepared and ready for algebra when they make it to high school. So that 6% that you see in front of you, honestly, there's a lot of hard work that's gone into that, and we're incredibly proud of that. On the areas for growth side of that, you can see at the bottom there, the panorama, -4% and positive connection. Truthfully, that one really hit us hard at CMS because that's something that we really value, and what I've been here into these meetings before to describe how our campus feels and what the school community is all about. And so that's something that we really took a hard look at. And positive connection in middle school is challenging to try to quantify and identify, but what we've really done this year is to work harder to connect with our students and to meet them where they are, including reaching out to all of our students to try to make a positive connection. I looked before I came over. So far this year, we've sent out 220 postcards to families to recognize students for positive things that have occurred on campus. We found that that trip from the mailbox, reading the postcard that's not a bill in the mail, and then talking to your student when they get it really makes a big difference. And so that's one small examples of ways that we've tried to reconnect with our students following the challenges that they had in upper elementary with distance learning. So that's been a continued area of improvement for us. The biggest number in front of you here that we're working on is our EL student progression rate. You can see that we had a 20% drop with a relatively small number of English learners. That's a high percentage, but what it really represents is a handful of students. I think it was 6 students less than before. Certainly still an area for growth, but that 20% number is a little bit overrepresented. What we've done a better job of this school year is partnering with our special education staff to really make sure that we understand the needs of an individual student to ensure that it's truly measuring their language abilities and not if there's some sort of a disability or other challenge. So we want to make sure that we're truly representing our students for what they're capable of and making sure that they're not being quantified in one direction or the other. So working with our special education department this year is an area of focus for us in that specific area. In the area of discipline, you can see at the bottom our suspension rate was up from last school year, but our chronic office referrals was down. And what that data tells me is that we're doing a good job of PBIS in the classroom and really implementing those tier 1 supports where our students feel connected and they know what we expect from them. In the area of suspension, we've worked harder to really try to implement alternatives to suspension. We've focused really a significant amount of efforts on combating hate speech in our school community this year, and what we've learned is there are some times where suspensions are absolutely appropriate and there are certain non-negotiables within our school community. However, often, particularly in middle school, education and other sort of restorative practices to help ensure that students understand the consequences or the repercussions of their actions is actually more appropriate. So that's been an area of focus for us as well. I've sort of highlighted some of our projects for this school year, but we're really looking forward to continuing our targeted math support classes and the growth in that area, deepening our AVID implementation. This school year we have both an AVID 7 and an AVID 8 elective class, and so it's been really fun. I was just in the class today, and our AVID 8 students, who are now the big students on campus, can tutor and mentor our AVID 7 students, which they just were like 8 weeks ago, but they've enjoyed being that person on campus to provide that mentorship for them. And then our continued focus on improving receiving Tier 1 instruction. What we truly believe is that if students receive better instruction from the very beginning of their educational process, we can spend more of our resources on that and less on intervention and remediation after the fact. So we're working with professional development and other opportunities to help our teachers reach our students during that first pass through for instruction. So that's a bit of a snippet of what we've got going on at Christensen. We've made a lot of gains over the last few school years, but we're really looking forward to continuing to work hard to serve our school community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have no comment cards, so we'll close public comment on this. And we'll begin this night, the questions or comments with Ms. Brusso.
Thank you for your report. And I did have a question. I noticed it in a couple of spots. Could you describe what the Power of One program is?
Yeah, absolutely. And so the Power of One program, I think this is the 8th or 9th school year that we've had, and what we are really focusing on is connecting with our students who need an adult on campus to feel connected with, so that they have someone who is their someone. And so in the past, we've really focused on our English learners to make sure that they have someone who, quite honestly, is pestering about their grades and making sure they're aware of the after-school activities and opportunities and things like that. In the last school year or so, we've expanded to include our McKinney-Vento population, our foster youth, and anyone else, quite honestly, that our cost team identifies as needing some, an extra layer of mentorship. And so throughout the year, once a week, we push out little prompts to our staff. Hey, ask them what they do after school this week. Hey, ask what they do when they get home and what their plan is for homework. So it's a way to really build connection with those kids who could really use that additional layer of support from us when they're with us during the day.
Oh. That's great. Thank you. I mean, I'm happy to see, I feel like Christensen always has been up there with math, and I'm happy to see that it's staying constant and improving. And I just feel like you guys are always kind of doing something that we should all be watching from across the district, because you continually have some good things. And I see that there's a few places where you need improvement, but I feel like you have some good plans for that. So I'm confident that you're going to keep moving forward. So thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Prusso. Trustee Wong?
You may have explained this and I missed it, but on the math final proficiency, did you say whether that was an improvement or a decline from the previous year?
I did not. So the math final proficiency, we didn't have comprehensive data for that from the year prior. And so the number that you see, I think it's 31% or something along those lines, that's the first real baseline measure. And so our math team just worked with Mr. Krolikowski in our curriculum department to really disaggregate that data and try to ensure that our students are receiving the instruction to that. So we don't have a comparative measure, but we will have one after this school year.
Okay. And what grade is that for?
So the math finals are in all grades, and so there's a comprehensive district-wide Math 6 final, a Math 7 final, Math 8 final, and so on. And so that is comparative to our peers around town.
Okay, so this is all 3 grades.
Correct, yeah. Each course has their own individual final that's comprehensive for, the end of course final for each of the 6 math courses that we offer.
Okay. And then I just had a question on the EL student progression. Is under plan to actions, this is Be Glad training? Is that Be Glad or Be Clad? Or I haven't heard of Be Glad.
So it's the GLAD strategies training. Dr. Diane Mukherjee is our reading intervention specialist, and she's been in training through our district office over the last few weeks. And right now in middle school, we have early release week. So literally today, she was able to present a 45-minute professional development opportunity. And it's GLAD strategies around helping our teachers better serve all students in their class, but particularly the English learners. So it's GLAD strategies.
For reading.
So this is for our English learner. She just happens to be our reading intervention specialist, but it's particularly in the area of English language arts, but it's for all subjects in general to ensure that the English learners receive the instruction during the class, during that Tier 1 instruction phase.
Okay. And I just want to acknowledge that I agree. Whenever I go to CMS, you really kind of feel the culture of inclusion and welcoming, and so I'm also surprised about the panorama results, but I'm glad you're digging into that and working with that. So, thank you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Durham.
So the GLAD is Guided Language Acquisition by Design, and it's something it's fantastic. Like, if you can go see what it looks like in action when it's done, it's phenomenal. So similarly, along with our English language learners or our emerging bilingual students. Hearing you say to working with the special education teachers to think about EL, I usually think of it as the opposite way, right? Thinking about, are we, if we're testing for special education, are we mixing up language? So it's savvy to think of the opposite of that. Are there other things happening that are creating noise besides language? So I'm not articulating this very well, but good job is essentially what I'm trying to say. And then what is the EL Scholars Club? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we use some of our LCFF money to provide an after-school opportunity with one of our bilingual paraeducators to provide support. Since she's a paraeducator, she's in and out of classrooms all day, and it's essentially tutoring or small group help to make sure that students have access to a safe, quiet place to study after school with a snack, but also an adult to supervise them to be able to help with any questions they might have. And so really it's small group setting, homework assistance, essentially.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Guzman.
Thank you. So first of all, much props to you and your staff for sending out 220 postcards to families. I think that's amazing. I'll put in plug in for Joe Mitchell. Just, I got a kid there. And I do realize that it's also hard for middle schoolers. As I said, I have one too. In regards to the English language students, so a couple questions. First question is, do we know if these students are newcomers? And then the follow-up question is of these students, how long have they been with us in our school system, meaning Livermore? So that's one question. You don't have to answer that now. But these are the questions I ask typically when I see English learners at middle school. And then secondly, I agree with Trustee Druin in the sense that I used to work with many English learners, and a lot of times there was this belief that they're not acquiring the academics because they haven't acquired the language. And there were some of us that would have to push for additional testing or, with the special ed, but that was always kind of well, it's because they don't speak English, that's why there's this delay. So to hear that you are really working with the special education team to really flesh out, is this really a language issue, or is this a learning difference or challenge, and to provide the necessary support so that the student can, be academically successful, I like to hear that. But I also know, historically speaking, that oftentimes it's our marginalized students that are over, diagnosed special ed or anything like that. So it's is that kind of what we're talking about? Yeah, so to hear that this disaggregation is happening, I'm pleased to hear. But yeah, and I would love to come visit the EL Scholars Club, or actually your campus, but.
We'd love to have you anytime. That'd be great.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for the presentation. One question, because I do like to see when some of the scores go up, and I know that needle on math is really hard to get that proficiency needle to move. You mentioned to Trustee Wong that was an aggregate number, 6th, 7th, and 8th, the 48% proficiency on CASP math scores. That's 6th, 7th, and 8th together?
Correct, yeah. So that number is comprehensive. I believe Trustee Wong's question was about the comprehensive math final exams, which is separate than the CASP. The math final is a school district created assessment for each of our courses. The CASP data, which you're referring to, yes, all of our students 6th, 7th, and 8th grade took.
Is there much variation between the grades?
There's significant variation amongst the grade, and our trends are in line with the rest of the district and the state. And what we see is that as students, they come to us in 6th grade, we see a nice little bump, and then similar in 7th, and then students tend to taper off as they get closer to algebra. And so what we're trying to do is to work on the articulation with the high school and our own algebra teachers, quite honestly, to push that stamina as the math gets harder, because as they progress through their math courses, it tends to get a little bit harder. But to answer your question, yes, you can disaggregate the data grade by grade and really identify trends, and then drilling down which specific concepts our students are struggling in so that we can narrow down the focus to support them in that.
And that's something, Mr. Superintendent, I would like to see is just that I know as we work on it, it's difficult to decipher where the change is, because if you're getting that 6th grade bump, so to speak, and then you're looking at aggregate number 6th, 7th, 8th, you can't really tell what's being affected. You know, as to say, we need to fix 7th and 8th and possibly raise 6th.
Yeah, and the truth is for us, we have 620 students, but as you're describing our English learners, I know them by name, and you asked how many newcomers there are, and there's 3, and I know exactly who they are and what their stories are. And as you're talking about the math, like, we know who our students are, and when we review data as a staff, our teachers take it to heart, and they're like, oh man, Brian, he was a 2, and now he's a 3. And so we truly, genuinely know, as you mentioned earlier, it's more than a number. They're humans, and we care dearly about them, and we know the stories. But to your point, it's a valid one to where we as a district staff have worked on that data and those trends to really identify those supports. So I obviously won't speak for you, Mr. Van Schack, but I think that's work that's already in progress.
I appreciate the accomplishments, and I've been to the award ceremonies for the accomplishments that you've achieved out there, so I know you're doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharman. We're really excited about the work that's being done. There's the 3 schools out in the Springtown area, Christensen and Croce, which isn't represented tonight, and Ultimate Creek. Really, they're doing great work individually, but they're also doing great work together, and so we're really happy about that. So for our next report, I'd like to invite up our wellness coordinator, Ms. Lisa Hannah-Danner, and she's going to provide to the board and our community a report on mental health and wellness.
I guess.
If you could bring the backup singers forward, please, so we can...
Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Van Schack, and Cabinet. I'm Lisa Hannon-Danner, Wellness Coordinator, and I am delighted to be here this evening to share with you the progress we've made with our district's wellness plan. Our wellness plan fits within our district's MTSS, the multi-tiered systems of supports, our framework of success. And this evening, I will highlight some of the district's wellness programs, our interventions, and activities. Since my, that's not showing up the way it did on my slide, so I apologize for that. But since my October 2022 report to you, our district has received an almost $6 million grant from the U.S. Department of Education and $750,000 from the California Department of Healthcare Services toward implementation of our wellness plan. In addition, we continue to receive funding from the county, and we also enjoy the generous support of local organizations such as Rotary. The wellness plan is focused on 4 areas, those being wellness centers, elementary counseling, mental health awareness, and community partnerships. Over half of our schools have or are in the process of establishing a wellness center. Wellness centers provide a space where students can learn and practice regulating their emotions and return to class ready to learn. It's where they can get connected to resources and become involved in various wellness activities on the campus. The district's first wellness center opened at Livermore High in 2021, and the Livermore High Wellness Center is guiding the way for wellness centers throughout our district. East Avenue's Wellness Center is paving the way for the establishment of wellness centers at K-8 and middle school sites. In 2022-23, over half of the students at East Avenue Middle School visited the Wellness Center. At East Avenue in 2022-23, there were an average of 26 students visiting the Wellness Center on a daily basis. With our federal grant, we're establishing a sustainable elementary counseling program. By 2027, we will have a full-time counselor at each of our elementary schools and an additional half-time counselor at our K-8 sites, as well as 2 elementary social workers. And we've never had a social worker in our district before to support general education students and families. So I'm incredibly excited about that. And our first elementary counselor and social worker are already on board. Over the next 4 years, we'll be hiring 9 additional counselors and another social worker. And to support our mental health infrastructure, because where are we going to find those 10 people, we've created a behavioral health pipeline to help fill the positions. And this year, we have 2 paid counseling interns. As we add counselors at the elementary schools, we'll be expanding the Wellness Center model to elementary campuses as well. And our very first elementary wellness center opened its doors at Arroyo Seco in September. In the area of mental health awareness and reducing stigma, we've trained over 700 staff and parents and community members in youth mental health first aid, which is a certification program that teaches adults how to recognize and respond to a mental health challenge in youth. And we're continuing those trainings this year. Since 2020, we have trained 1,500 students at Livermore High School in teen mental health first aid, which is a certification program that teaches adolescents how to recognize and respond to a mental health challenge in a peer. And this year, thanks to a very generous donation from Rotary, we're going to be able to expand teen mental health first aid to Granada. So we're very excited about that. Our mental health website continues to provide timely information on mental health protective factors, those things that support mental health. We also have information on mental health disorders, our mental health partner agencies, how to get support, how to connect with the outside agencies. We also have a page that is supported by our students, mental health for students, by students. And then we also have a community calendar of upcoming mental health events in the community. And lastly, through partnerships with local mental health agencies, school-based counseling services are provided by staff from Horizons, Hume Center Counseling, La Familia, and we have the support of those agencies at 11 different sites in our district. 8 of our partner agencies are represented on our Mental Health Advisory Committee, which meets 3 times a year. So those are the highlights of the progress we've made toward our wellness plan in the areas of wellness centers and the elementary counseling program and mental health awareness and our community partnerships. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. We have no cards, so we'll close public comment on this. And we'll begin with Trustee Druin.
First of all, just thank you for the work. Thank you for the partnerships, for the reaching out for funds, for having an expansive vision of how mental well-being fits into the fabric of our learning community. And looking at the, on your second slide, the student services, thinking about the services that you provide linked with the different tiers is a fascinating way of thinking about mental health and how it fits into every level of how we support students. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Guzman.
Yes, I'm just really fascinated about this, or grateful, I should say. What I've noticed is that at least my children and other children, they now have the language to express big feelings. And to hear that half the students have attended at East Avenue, which 26 students a day, it's both alarming and it's, for me anyways, it's alarming, but it's also reassuring that they know where to go and they know where to get resources. And I think we're going to be seeing that because as an entire world, we've just came out of like something very heavy, and we're still in heavy times. Then the other thing is that also, on a personal note, just like my son, he doesn't attend these schools, but I just see it permeating in the other schools. He was able to tell me last year that he had to go to the calming corner in his room because of whatever it was that was just had him annoyed. So as a parent, I really appreciate it. And then I just also too, as just a community member and as an educator, that this is coming into the classroom now. And the destigmatization, I can't say that word. Yes, destigmatization of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman. Trustee Pruso.
Yeah, I want to say a couple of things. First of all, congratulations on the grant. Obviously, that's really important, especially for our elementary schools, that we have that grant. And then I'm going to kind of say what I already said in Health and Wellness Committee, so you're just going to have to sit tight while everyone listens. I've been on the Health and Wellness Committee since 2018, and I'm now also on the Mental Health Advisory Committee, which is a little bit newer. And I think, as Trustee Guzman stated, since the pandemic, mental health has been at the forefront of a lot of people's priorities, right? Because we've seen what's happened coming out of the pandemic. But I did want to say that our district, with Lisa at the helm, has been thinking about this and concerned about this since 2018, and has been working on with partners and working on this before the pandemic, which I think is why coming out of the pandemic, we already had our wellness center established as the students came back to school, because we were ahead of the game. And that's definitely to Lisa and her team, the entire team, which is a lot of people and a lot of partners. And I just wanted to say I'm grateful for your foresight, because it is important. I know there's some people who maybe think that mental health and social and emotional learning is not that important, but we know that our students can't learn when they're anxious, when they're depressed, when they have these issues, and it is important for their learning to be able to learn how to work through that and get the help that they need, which sometimes is professional help. So I just appreciate all of that. I also wanted to highlight the mental health roundtable that I think we all were able to attend that we had at our the Livermore High School Wellness Center, and we had people there from all over the county who came to see what we're doing. I already mentioned to Lisa that I think she should be presenting at conferences what we're doing, because I think it would benefit a lot of districts across the state. So I've told her to apply maybe for CSBA and maybe some other mental and health and wellness conferences, because I think that other people could benefit from what we've been doing here in our district, which I think we're out there in the front. And I really think that that's really amazing that we have that, and that it's really been a focus of this year as well, to an anti-bullying focus, and to not have any tolerance for that kind of behavior at schools. So just really appreciative, really proud all the way around of what you're doing and what we're doing, and as a district and as a community. We have community members who are also really supportive of this, our Rotary and others who volunteer their time to help with this. So I just all the way around, I just see it as a really positive thing for our community, and I'm just really grateful and proud. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Prusso. Trustee Wong.
I don't know if I've shared this before, but when I was first elected to school board in 2020, the very first thing I did was I spent an entire day on Zoom with you for the youth mental health first aid training. And I've been a volunteer crisis counselor at Tri-Valley Haven for over a dozen years. And I sort of thought, well, I don't know if I really need this. I know how to do this kind of stuff. But it was amazing. It was such a good training. And it was on Zoom. It was all day. And I was completely engaged. It was really fantastic. I can only imagine what it's like in person. And so if you need someone to sell anyone what a great training it is, and it's really worth doing if anyone out there is thinking about it.
Anyone in our community, right? It's just
Anyone
who wants
in our
to do
community.
it. So let us know.
Yeah, because I signed up before I was elected, so it had nothing to do with being a school board member. And I just want to say I'm so grateful for the head start our district got on doing all this mental health work, which is now, mental health is the big buzzword in education circles. And the fact that our program's so robust, and we have all the staff that, because of the grants, and I just felt like we got such a head start, and I really appreciate all the amazing work you've done. So we're very fortunate to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And to the public who may be watching or may just be in our audience listening, Dr. Hannon Danner has a national profile. And I know that because she works with one of our national partners in Capital Advocacy Partners, and they're very, very experienced throughout the entire country, and they give you very high praise. They say you're the best at what you do in the country, and we're fortunate enough to have you. And so getting an invite and going over and watching the Wellness Center's work at Livermore High School, and how how Zach Radke is engaged there. I remember him as a basketball player way back, and he's a kid and he's grown up, and the embrace that everyone has of this. That the teachers, the staff, the kids that have graduated, that have come back, the community, it's a very encompassing program. And it takes a lot of leadership not to get bifurcated and to keep this thing moving forward. And this isn't something that's a small potatoes thing. We're talking about things that have brought in millions of dollars in resources for the kids in this community. And it's not just to augment something. This is for a critical need. Our district was ahead of the game, likely because we listened to the community. The community said that the kids were struggling, there was mental health issues, they need counselors, and you were able to take that with your passion and your expertise and steer that with our previous superintendent, with our current superintendent, and put our district in a position where we're leaders now at a national level. So I hope that there's no more delays. If there's if there's something that's in the way, we can move it, because this is something that needs to scale, and you're doing a great job with it. What's over at Livermore should be at Granada, and as we utilize the money, this is really good. To hear from the kids, to me, is probably the most meaningful thing. How meaningful, like when the kids are saying they had no alternative, without this they don't know where they'd be, and that has to be very fulfilling for you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
No other questions? Mr. Van Schack.
Thank you, sir.
Moving into the voting ones.
Yeah. It's been a long-held belief that schools are very, very slow to change. And I think the one thing you'd see in our schools that you certainly wouldn't have seen 10 years ago is this focus on mental health. And again, the commitment, Lisa and her team, I feel like Lisa has hit her area of passion, and the work that her team is doing and the embrace that the schools have had for this has really been very satisfying for me as well. And I love the fact that, again, as been pointed out, I feel like we're ahead of the game here. And I think it's uncommon in education to get ahead of really anything. I mean, we follow society as opposed to leading it, but I think in this case we're leading. So really proud and pleased with the work that Lisa's doing. So moving along, I'd like to invite Amy Robbins up. Item 10.1, which is the authorization for assignment outside of credential area.
Good evening, President Bueno, Superintendent Van Schack, and members of the board. Tonight I present to you the authorization for assignment out of credentialed area. In accordance with California Education Code 4483, the Commission of Teaching Credentialing allows districts to employ individuals to provide speech and language services as long as they meet specific criteria, as well as it comes before the board for your approval. That criteria is that the employee has a master's in the field as well as a license from the Speech, Language Pathology, and Audiology Board. This allows us to reduce our reliance on contractors or outside agencies and allows us to have consistency with personnel. The individual we're bringing for you this evening for our request for authorization for assignment out of the credentialed area is Heather Bell. She's a speech and language pathologist that serves our students across the district. And with that, our superintendent's recommendation is to approve the authorization for assignment out of credentialed area.
We have no cards. We'll close public comment. Unless there's any questions or clarifying points, I'd entertain a motion on the item.
President Bueno, I move that we approve the authorization for assignment out of credentialed area.
Second.
Thank you. One clarifying thing on the motion. It is for a specific person. It's for Heather Bell.
It is for Heather Bell, yes.
So if
Approve the authorization for Heather Bell for assignment out of credentialed area.
okay,
Is that right? Got it.
okay, the motion has been amended and seconded by Trustee Druin. Any discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Trustee Wrong.
Aye.
Myself, aye. Trustee Druin.
Aye.
Trustee Guzman.
Aye.
President Bueno.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. 10-2, please.
Mr. President, I'd like to invite up Mr. Nick Olson. He's our bond program administrator, and he's going to provide some information this evening about a project we're very excited to begin, which is over at Maryland Avenue, where they are going to be seeing some very dramatic changes to their campus.
Is this on?
You're live.
Thank you, Superintendent Van Schack. Good evening, members of the board and cabinet. I'm excited to be here to talk about the Maryland Avenue Elementary School STEAM and renovation project and the award of contract for pre-construction services. So a quick review of project scope. This project includes renovation to the parking lot, expansion of parking lot and drop-off that you see on the bottom right here. It also includes an expansion and renovation of the existing kinder play area, a new building E shown in blue at the bottom left that is 2 new STEAM classrooms, as well as 2 new TK classrooms, a renovation to the library building, building K shown here, to include a research center and a 3rd STEAM classroom, and then a renovation to the existing science classroom to be the 4th STEAM classroom on the campus. The scope also includes replacement of HVAC units and fire alarm campus-wide, as well as an upgrade to the paint campus-wide. So project schedule, increment 1, which is the site work, primarily the new parking and drop-off, has already been submitted to DSA. We anticipate starting construction on that in the spring, with anticipated completion in the fall of 2024. Increment 2, which is the building and renovation part, we are on schedule to submit that to DSA next month, starting construction in the summer/fall of 24, and that's about a year-long project, which we anticipate to be completed with in summer of 2025. So the lease-back proposal process schedule, in August, we issued an RFP to contractors for proposals. In September, we received 7 proposals, so really good interest. We scored those proposals per the board's criteria for scoring lease-back proposals, and we narrowed those down to 2 contractors, which we interviewed, and the recommendation tonight is to award pre-construction services to Rodan Builders. To get you guys even a little more excited, some of the renderings of what the buildings will look like. So the bottom right is actually, on the right of that image is our current kinder building, and this is the new building. So what you see in the foreground is the expansion of the kinder playground, the 2 new kinder classrooms, and then in the background is the new STEAM classroom. And then the image to the upper left is our new drop-off and upgrade to the main entry to the school. So next steps, we already do monthly meetings with the campus as well as Ed Services, so we'll continue those for coordination. Barring approval tonight, we will start the pre-construction coordination and early procurement of materials and equipment. And our architects will continue to prepare submission to DSA for increment 2. So the recommendation tonight is to award pre-construction services and early procurement of materials and equipment for the Maryland STEAM and renovation project to Rodan Builders.
Okay. We have no cards. We'll close public comment. If anyone has questions, clarifying points, anything? Trustee Wong.
Under in the project schedule for building and renovation, it says construction starts summer, fall of 2024, completed summer 25, so that's the school year. So would students be displaced temporarily, or can you work around?
No, there will be no interim housing. Part of the reason we're doing the parking lot side first is so that we don't have to interim house, and we could create new expanded parking, and then the new building goes in the current staff parking lot. So the renovation of the library building, we are working with the campus on just how to coordinate that and logistics.
Oh, so there won't have to be any displacement at all for this project?
Currently, we do not think so.
Okay, thank you.
For the community, because this was part of a grant that we got, and we're doing some work also at Junction following, correct? Isn't there some work at Junction, not part of this, but down the road?
I am going to defer that question.
So the funding for this is coming from matching funds from the state,
right,
based upon the work that we did off the last bond. There's also a grant that is being split between Maryland and Junction. That's primarily for professional development, instructional materials. Some furniture and equipment goes into that grant as well, but the bulk of this work is coming from matching funds from the state.
And what type of dollar amount? Just ballpark. Are we
25 million-ish?
Right. And I think that's important that the community knows that we're serious about the investment in our schools, and that this took a lot of diligence on the part of our bond department to get the matching money. You guys had to be pretty persistent about that. I know that pot was continually dry every time you guys looked there, even though there was a promise.
The credit for that goes to Kim McNeely.
Yeah, it's a 3-year process it took us to
right.
get the money that was actually due to us. And so obviously it supports the idea that when our community pitches in and supports education, that allows us to access funds from the state level, which again multiplies our ability to do additional work, and so that's nice.
And this was a match, but it was matched on the generosity and support on the Measure J.
Yes.
Okay. Good work. All right. Any more clarifying questions? I'd entertain a motion on this.
President Bueno, I move to award the contract for pre-construction services and early procurement of material and equipment components for the Maryland Steam and Renovation Project.
Thank you.
I second that.
So we have a motion by Trustee Druin on the superintendent's recommendation, and that has been seconded by Trustee Guzman. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, if you'd call the roll.
Trustee Druin,
Aye.
Trustee Guzman,
Aye.
myself, aye. Trustee Wong,
Aye.
President Bueno.
Aye, and that motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right. We're moving into our consents. I think we have 15. So if no one would like to move or clarify any, if we're not going to pull any, then be 11.2 through 11.16, if we'd like to move in their entirety.
President Bueno, I move to, oh no, I lost it. I move that we approve consent items 11.2 through 11.16 in their entirety.
Thank you.
I'll second.
The motion's by Trustee Druin, it's been seconded by Trustee Prusso. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Myself, aye. Trustee Druin,
Aye.
Trustee Guzman,
Aye.
Trustee Wong,
Aye.
President Bueno.
Aye, the motion carries unanimously, and we're going to move into our rezos. I think there's 4, 13 through 16.
President Bueno, oh.
No, if there's no desire to pull any, then we can move in their entirety.
I move that we approve resolution number 13, 23-24 through 16?
Yes.
23-24 in their entirety.
Thank you.
That's second.
The motion is by Trustee Prusso, and it's been seconded by Trustee Wong. No discussion. Madam Clerk, if you'd call it.
Trustee Guzman,
Aye.
Trustee Druin,
Aye.
myself, aye. Trustee Wong,
Aye.
President Bueno.
Aye, and the motion is unanimous. Thank you very much. We didn't remove anything separately, so we'll go into board member reports, and I'd like to start with Trustee Prusso.
Okay, we were able to celebrate Teacher of the Year as we already heard earlier this morning, earlier today from our LEA president, Amy Thompson. It's felt long, but it's not. Irene Lucero, who's an East Avenue Spanish teacher, and the county does, every year, they do such a great job, I think, of making these teachers feel really special, and it is really great to go and support our teachers who do this. We also, I'm on the ROP board, and also our ROP Teacher of the Year happens to also be in Livermore, and that's Randy Barnard. He's the Livermore High School Automotive Tech teacher, and so I want to shout out to him as well. He is just fantastic, and he was very funny at the awards, accepting his award. You could tell he was like not sure about standing in front of people and speaking, but he was very funny. Also, we already kind of talked about it tonight, but we're able to go to I think most of us were at the mental health roundtable. I just wanted to say thank you to Lisa Hannon and Danner, Zachary Reddicky, the students, the culture keepers at Livermore High School, and then also Marina Boons. Did I say her name right? Bunce. Thank you. Our new and first elementary counselor. So we're excited about her and excited to see elementary counselors in all of the schools eventually. I was also able to attend the Maryland Fun Run on last Friday. This is the second fun run I've been able to go to this year, and I don't run, I just cheer for the kids, and they do such a great job. I think this year Maryland raised $30,000, which is a record for Maryland, and it was just incredible. I think the most they had raised before this was around $4,000, so this was really exciting for them. The whole community was there. It was just so great to be there. And I mean, I got chills just being there. It was really fantastic. A lot of community support there as well. Recognized members of the community who came to support our Maryland students. And I just wanted to shout out to the PTO president there. Her name is Jamie Morton. She's just done a fantastic job just getting that community together and going. And I just really think that's amazing. And then also we had Health and Wellness Committee yesterday. We spoke about the Mental Health Roundtable, and then among other things, just connections with all of our partners. And also we are having subcommittees to work on our health policy ideas and other things like that, which I think is a good idea. And then just before I close, I just wanted to make a few comments about what's been happening in the world. And hopefully I can do this without too many emotions, but I am devastated by the recent eruption of violence and loss of life in the Middle East, and my heart aches for all the victims. As a mother, I have struggled to manage my feelings this week, recognizing the pain of mothers, fathers, and children on all sides, and I pray for a peaceful resolution to the conflict. I would also like to condemn the hurtful and anti-Semitic statements that are happening in the United States and recognize that this is a complex issue that is beyond the grasp of most of us who don't have familiar or religious stakes in the region. But I did want to say I am grateful to our superintendent and our community engagement team for the message that they sent to parents and families in our district to remind them that hate speech is not tolerated, and help them to remember what mental health services are available. And I just would like to implore our community to call out anti-Semitism or Islamophobic rhetoric wherever they hear or see it. I know that we are witnessing the darkest parts of humanity, but we have also witnessed bravery, compassion, and kindness. And I pray that humanity will prevail and that peace will be restored to the families and the nations who are suffering. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Wong.
Thank you for that. I was actually going to say something about that at the end of my statement, but I think I'll segue from you. I actually want to start by just thanking Trustee Prusso for her tremendous support to me personally during this very challenging time. Today, more than 120 Jewish organizations co-signed a letter condemning Islamophobia. We condemn this in all its forms, and along with anti-Semitism, there's no room for hate speech. And this is a very complex situation in the Middle East. A lot of people are learning about it for the first time through social media posts. Please don't do that. Almost all of it's misinformation. And I ask parents especially to pay attention to where your kids are doing on social media. I'd actually encourage this would be a good time to kind of close it off, temporarily at least. There's just a lot of harmful things out there, and people are repeating things that are very hurtful and not helping the situation at all. But I wanted to acknowledge the horrors and tragedies that are ongoing in Israel and Gaza. I'm been grieving and heartbroken. I'm Jewish, and I'm just heartbroken for the tremendous loss of life. And I want peace to come quickly. And my thoughts are with the families in our district and in our community who have friends and family in the region. So now segueing to things going on, better things going on in our district. I was able to attend the first fifth grade presentation at Maryland for their project-based learning, and it was so great. It was really fun to see it. And one of the students in presenting about a cooking project and his family said, "My mom and my aunt did project-based learning," so it was really cute. I attended an anti-bullying assembly at Livermore High School that was really amazing and very well received by the students. The students were completely enraptured and just, yeah, it was fantastic. And the mental health roundtable was great. We had a strategic planning committee meeting, intergovernmental committee meeting, And then last Saturday was Art Walk in downtown. It was really great, and the best part, always for me at Art Walk, is seeing our Livermore High School ceramics teacher, Bob Carpenter, who spends hours at Art Walk every year displaying his students' artwork. And there were drawings and photography and all kinds of stuff from both Livermore and Granada and Vineyard and Del Valle. And it's always my favorite part of Art Walk. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Drone.
On October 4th, I participated in Walk and Roll to School. So I rolled my child to school, and then I rolled over to Arroyo Seco and passed out stickers and pencils to kids, and they were just so excited to be acknowledged for, walking or riding a bike or a skateboard or a scooter to school. So that was fantastic. I participated in the LGBTQ+ roundtable session with Trustee Guzman, as well as some other students, community members. And I wanted to acknowledge Superintendent Van Schaak, your focus on action, and I think that's it's important. I also participated in the RTF Strategic Planning Committee with Trustee Wong, and I wanted to give a shout out to several of my group mates. I think the level of professionalism and conversation about transitioning from theory to practice is really important. And I think that strategic planning is just that, trying to figure out how we can solve complex problems purposefully. And just looking at all of the people in the room and all of the investment and involvement is, it's just noteworthy. And then lastly, I'm looking forward to the governance workshop. I serve on several committees in my role as a associate professor at Stan State University. And I think governance is a skill. It's something that you learn and you can craft. It's a craft and you can get better at it. And so I'm looking forward to engaging in that work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Guzman.
Yeah, thank you. So I too attended many of the same events as the other trustees, the Teacher of the Year Award, the Mental Health Roundtable, joined the LGBTQ+ committee. But I also had the opportunity, I was invited by LEA and the psych teacher at AP Psych at Granada. She did I don't know if it's an experiment, it's just of sensory and in how our mind influences our senses and things. So that was really great to see. It was different setups and to be part of that. My daughter happens to be in the class, and she thought I was kidding when I told her I was going to visit the class. But I showed up, and good thing she was there. So, and I too am also just looking forward to bonding with the board on our next meeting. That's it.
Thank you very much. I did the roll to school, but I kind of cheated. I have an electric bike, so it kind of helps out a little bit. That is kind of cheating, but just still, it weighs 83 pounds, so it's kind of an offset or something. I won't go into it a whole bunch, but the mental health roundtable that was very well attended, and there were some heavy hitters there from the congressman's office all the way down to local politicians. City manager was there. It's very well rounded. The foundation of that program is robust, and I know that it's going to pay dividends for a long, long time to our students, and it's just in such a much-needed area. And so thank you again to Dr. Hannon and Danner for all the effort, and it's been years in the works. So, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the partners, and they kind of work behind the scenes, but it's Dana DeBeaumont and Amanda Fenton, who are the principals over at Capital Advocacy Partners, that help with some of that funding to advocate on our behalf. It's an extraordinarily difficult thing to lobby, to work, and to advocate for money in times. There's never seems to be enough money, but money is the thing that makes those things happen. And so I thank them. Homecoming game at Granada, I know one of our student reps mentioned that, and I happened to be there for that. And the spirit, it's one of the things that you can't overlook is we do that every year. We've had it, I've been coaching it at a high school here for 20 years. But when you do the facilities and the people support bonds and those facilities are enlarged and the bleachers are big and the sound system works and the lights are on and it's well lit and the facilities and the bathrooms and all that, you put all that together And people feel the difference, and they also feel that stadium. And when you feel the ground shake and the crowd roar, it's something, and it creates a synergy in a community, and I think that goes to long-term support, and all of that benefits the children of this community. So I really appreciate that. Teacher of the Year over in Castro Valley, they were great hosts. Alameda County Office of Education came in and kind of oversaw that and coordinated. It's really cool. They do it every year, but it's really cool to hear some of the teachers who aren't comfortable, like a shop teacher, someone they're not real comfortable, and they're from everywhere. They're from Oakland, Albany, Fremont, here. When they get up there, the humor, and they all have being a teacher at heart as a common denominator, so it's really cool to watch that event. And then lastly, to kind of tie in my last remarks, as a Jew and someone who's lived here my entire life, you have to pray for peace, and I do. And I'm old enough to have witnessed a lot of bad things in my life that were anti-Semitic or, just based on hate. And, my early memories are of the Munich games and the entire wrestling team being killed, and I think it was 72. And unfortunately, these things happen, and I'm very glad that we have state diplomats and that we're a nation that has the ability to go in and negotiate for peaceful settlements, and but your heart cannot help but go out to the pleas of these people, and so I pray for peace as soon as possible. Mr. Van Schack.
Thank you. I don't want to speak over the emotions of the board because it's so raw and so meaningful, but I do want to reassure district families and our community that we are keeping the needs of our students as our highest priority, and to let you know that if students are experiencing any additional anxiety, we will provide the support that's needed. We're committed to that. As has been mentioned on several occasions tonight, we are in the midst of Unity Week, which is an opportunity for us to remind students and staff of the value and importance of kindness and respect for one another. There have been a number of events. The highlight is tomorrow, which is Unity Day, which is really a focus on bullying prevention, and we give that 100% of our support. Just one of the things that's always made Livermore a great place to work has been the willingness to come together in this community in difficult times. 90,000 residents, 13,000 of which are our students, but somehow we are able to maintain a small town feel because in times of crisis we tend to work together, and so that brings me some level of reassurance, and I know that this challenge, along with many others, is one that we will solve as a group. So I appreciate you listening, and good night, and stay safe.
Thank you. And if people would indulge it, just a small moment of peace before a moment of silence, just right before we adjourn here.